Sure. My name is Erik Azulay. I'm the Executive Director of Nexus and President of Charter Consulting. That's a startup hub in New Delhi, India, run by the US government. I've been invited here to Startup Turkey to be a mentor and a jury member. Well, I mean, if you're asking if I'm an investor, yes, I've done some investing in some small startups, and I'm certainly looking at opportunities here and looking at some of the startups we've seen at Startup Turkey and some very interesting companies here. This is my first time attending Startup Turkey. I've been to other startup conferences around the world, but the first time for me to come to Istanbul and to be in Startup Turkey. Well, the event it's been very interesting, and I've met some great companies here and some great partners that we hope to work with at Nexus as well. So I look forward to talking to some of these startups in more detail and also talking to some of the partners here to talk about some collaboration we can do in the future. Well, I was very impressed that the startups that we've seen here at Startup Turkey are not just from Turkey, but from the Middle East area, from India, we've got some partners from the United States. So they've done a very good job of trying to differentiate and bring out different startups and partners from all around the world. And so that was very impressive to me, that it wasn't just a local thing just from Turkey. The criteria I'm going to be using here are the criteria I use for judging startups and investing in startups anywhere in the world. Can they be scalable? Will they work outside the Turkish market, preferably to go into the United States market or North American market? And does the team have experience in launching a startup and being successful in a startup before? These are kind of the basic criteria we use for any startups, and I'll be applying those to here at Startup Turkey as well. Well, I mean, I've only been here for the one day, so I'm just still getting my initial reactions. Of course, Istanbul itself is kind of a nexus of international as well, Europe and Asia, and so it's been very interesting in that sense to see the different startups from different countries. And other startup conferences I've been to around the world usually are very specific to that region. So the fact that they brought startups from not only from the area here of Western Europe and of Asia, but from all over has been very impressive to me. And I look forward to talking to some of these startups more to see if there's something that I can invest in. If you're asking about the favorites that I've looked at during the boat tour, I mean, some of the companies, of course, were a bit earlier stage than I'd like to invest in, but there were some very interesting ones that I'm definitely going to be talking to after I leave Startup Turkey, and I hope to see as they get more traction that they might be an attractive vehicle for me for investment in some of the partners that I know of. So yes, there are definitely some companies I'm going to be keeping my eye on. Well, I mean, for investments, there's a difference. I try to take a look at a difference between good businesses and investable businesses. And so you will see cycles in the investable business, what's hot and what's not in Silicon Valley. I try to stay away from those because those bubbles can burst very easily and we get too much into a Me Too kind of investment philosophy. So, but right now, I mean, you'll see a lot on, the hot words on everybody's lips are machine learning, right? Artificial intelligence. And we see a lot of tech companies that throw those words in there, even if it has nothing to do with machine learning or artificial intelligence. So those are something that IoT is another one. Something that's being looked at very strongly in Silicon Valley and some of the investment areas. My personal approach is to less worry about the technology and more to worry about the problem that those companies are solving and whether that's a problem that can be solved not just locally, but regionally and globally. So I try not to focus too much on what's hot and what's not and what technology or what industry is the biggest or the most popular right now, and focus really on the problem that's being solved. I mean, Startup Turkey, it's been a wonderful experience so far. I mean, the fact that you're based in Istanbul, of course, is already one of the large advantages of coming here to Startup Istanbul and Startup Turkey. But the companies that you have brought and the partners that you have brought have definitely made it worth it for me to come, coming all the way from India. I would recommend it to other people, especially if you're looking at companies from the Turkish area. That can expand to the near Asia and near Europe. So for me, it's definitely been worth it, and I would recommend it, and I look forward to coming back next year. One thing I would say about Startup Turkey is that we see a wide range of startups here. Some of them are very early, and some of them are a lot more mature. And that's okay. We like to see different components from all the different ecosystems. I'd also like to see not just the startups, but perhaps more of the players in Turkey. So more of the incubators and some of the research institutes, and that will give me a much better view of where these startups are coming from and how much training they've had and how much investment and how they've had to date before they get ready for the next stage of expanding, hopefully for regionally and globally. So one of the things I'd like to see next year is not just the institutional partners from around the world that have been brought in, they've done a good job at. And not just the startups that we've seen, not only from Turkey, but like I said, from Asia, from India, from Pakistan, have seen that. But I would like to see a bit more of the ecosystem partners within Turkey, whether they're government agencies, whether they're incubators, whether they're research universities. And I think that will add another layer and a richness to Startup Turkey that could be improved upon.